Whispers in the Deep Woods. The trip begins. Jake, Melissa, Eric, and Sarah had always been adventure junkies, craving the thrill of the unknown. When they stumbled across an old online forum discussing haunted forests, one place stood out: Black Hollow Forest. The forum was filled with chilling stories, people disappearing, strange whispers in the wind, shadowy figures lurking just beyond the trees. Most posts ended with warnings: do not camp there. The woods are not empty. Once you hear the whispers, it's already too late. But that only made them want to go more. On a crisp October morning, they packed their gear and made the 4-hour drive to the edge of the forest. The town before the woods, Ravens Hollow, was small and quiet. The locals barely spoke to them. At a rundown gas station, Jake mentioned their destination to the old man behind the counter. Black Hollow. The man's face darkened. You kids don't belong there. We'll be fine, Jake laughed. The old man's lips trembled. They watch from the trees, and when they whisper, don't answer. No matter what you hear. Melissa shuddered, but Eric dismissed it. Small town ghost stories. Let's go. By the time they reached the trailhead, the sun was dipping low, casting long shadows across the dense forest. The trees were unnaturally tall, their twisted branches stretching like skeletal fingers toward the sky. As they hiked deeper in, the air felt heavier. Sound was muffled, almost as if the forest was swallowing every noise. No birds, no insects, just silence. Too much silence. They reached a clearing beside a dried-up riverbed and decided to set up camp. By nightfall, the fire was crackling, and they had settled into laughter and ghost stories. But at exactly midnight, the forest came alive. The first night, the whispering begins. Melissa was the first to hear it. A whisper, software. Almost like the wind, but not the wind. It came from the trees. Dozens of voices murmuring in unison. Do you hear that? She whispered, her voice shaking. The others fell silent. Then they heard it too. Whispers, too many to count. Words they couldn't make out. Then came the footsteps, slow, circling the campsite. Jake shot up, grabbing a flashlight. Who's there? Silence. The whispers stopped. He scanned the trees. Nothing. Just darkness. Probably just an animal, Eric muttered, though his voice was tight. But deep inside, they all felt it. Something was watching. Something was out there. The second night, the thing in the woods. Morning came, and with it, a sense of relief. But as they examined their surroundings, something was wrong. New footprints. Large inhuman footprints surrounded their tents, deep claw marks in the trees. Maybe a bear? Sarah offered, though she didn't sound convinced. They spent the day exploring, but as dusk approached, the sense of unease returned. By the time they sat around the fire, the woods felt even darker. At 2 a.m., Sarah awoke to scratching, software scraping against the nylon of her tent. Her breath hitched. She reached for her flashlight, slowly unzipping the tent. Outside, in the dim glow of the dying fire, she saw it. A tall, gaunt figure, its skin stretched tight over its bones. Its mouth hung open in an unnatural grin, revealing rows of jagged teeth, and its eyes black, hollow pits. Sarah's scream tore through the night. The figure raised a bony finger to its lips. Shh! The others scrambled out of their tents. Jake shined his flashlight toward Sarah, but the figure was gone. Only the whispers remained, louder now, closer. Get the hell out of here, Eric yelled. They grabbed their bags and ran toward the trail, only to find the path was gone. The trees had shifted. The forest was different. Where the hell is the trail? Jake shouted, panic creeping into his voice. The whispers surrounded them. Then came the laughter, a low, guttural chuckle that echoed from every direction. Then, a scream. It sounded just like Melissa, but she was right beside them. Help me! The voice sobbed from deep in the trees. Melissa's voice, a perfect copy. Oh my God, it's mimicking me, Melissa whispered, her voice breaking. Then Eric's voice joined it. Then Sarah's. Then Jake's. The forest was filled with their own voices, screaming for help. The third night, the ritual. They ran until exhaustion overtook them. Somehow they stumbled back into their abandoned campsite. The fire was still burning, But something was waiting for them, a circle of figures, tall, motionless, shadowed in the firelight, watching. The tallest one stepped forward, skin hanging loosely off its bones. It pointed at Eric. "Leave him!" it rasped. Its voice was a chorus, 100 voices speaking at once. Eric stumbled backward. "What? No! No way! You leave!" it hissed. "Or you all stay." The figures closed in. "Run!" Melissa screamed. Eric turned, but they grabbed him. His screams turned into laughter. Horrible, hollow laughter that didn't belong to him. Jake, Melissa, and Sarah bolted. Somehow they found the trail. Somehow they made it to the road. They collapsed near the car, gasping for air. When they looked back, Eric was standing at the tree line, smiling, his eyes black and hollow. He waved, then he turned and vanished into the trees. The aftermath. A search team went into the woods the next day. They found nothing. No campsite, no footprints, no Eric. But near the riverbed, they found a notebook. The pages were filled with names, hundreds of names. And at the very bottom, Melissa, Jake, Sarah. A final note was scrawled beneath them. They let us leave, but they never let us go. The final night, weeks later, back in their homes, the nightmares started. Eric calling to them, the whispers creeping from the shadows. And on the fourth night, Jake heard it, a soft voice right outside his bedroom window. Shh. His breath caught in his throat, because when he looked outside, Eric was standing there, smiling, waiting. The whispers were everywhere. Black Hollow never let them go, and it was coming for them, one by one.